It's Thursday, first Thursday in February, and we are back with another webinar. So today's topic is all about Naviate Architecture, and as last time, I have with me Mehmed to walk us through what we're going to talk about today. As I said last time, and for those that didn't attend then, Mehmed is the overall product owner for the Naviate Architecture team. So one part is architecture, but we have also other products like satin landscaping and daylight that he is responsible for. Myself is the global product manager, overseeing the Naviate portfolio for Revit and also partially our cloud solutions. Today's presentations is all about managing doors and windows. We have new look and feel on the door and window solutions. And we're going to take step by step and walk you through how you can work with configuration of the swing count and count, the UID for the doors, how you're going to work with updating the data in your model. And of course, the most important part of all, to make sure that you report and keep track of all the changes when it comes to your doors and windows in the project. And we're going to end today's sessions with a short Q&A session. It's possible for you to ask and raise questions during the presentation, and we'll bring it into the discussion at the end. If you have colleagues or other ones that should have been here today but are not able to attend, these webinars are recorded and will be uploaded on the naviate.com webpage and also YouTube. And all attendees will be informed by an email when it's available. So high level for new users of Naviate or non-user of Naviate. Naviate is a suite of products developed by AC professionals for the AC professionals. All about focusing on how we can do project setup, model management, and documentation. So all the features that you can see within the Naviate portfolio are funded by some of these elements. So we're going to save time, increase control, and optimize workflows. That's our foundation there. So by that, I will hand over to Mehmed, that we're going to walk us through the features for Naviate Architecture, door and windows. You see.
Yes. Thank you, Yantur.
You're welcome.
I just need to, yes, you gave me the screen.
Yeah, I did. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Mehmed.
Yes, so hello everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. I hope this webinar will be interesting and useful to you. So as Yantur said, the topic of today is managing door and window data in Revit with Naviate. So that's our topic. An important topic, I believe, mainly because this is a quite important process in a architectural or construction project. In a lot of cases, mostly performed by architects, but it can be performed by other special disciplines, fire safety or hardware, that can affect the door and window data. This process is very time consuming and many times tedious and prone to errors, not to mention expensive to fix mistakes. So simply, the reason behind that is there is a lot of information that needs to be considered and documented, then updated when changes arise. That can include data about swing direction, the numbering system for your doors and windows, the drawings that you need to provide of your doors and windows. And if I go more in depth, you also need to take care about phasing. That's more like a Revit specific workflow. But yeah, that's also part of the complication. The location of the doors and windows can be quite important and needs to be kept track of. So if the room changes the to and from room parameters, you need to do a lot of changes in several different places. So that was kind of the summary of all the use cases and challenges that an architect, let's say, can encounter when working with doors and windows, especially the data of these elements. Compared to CAD-based softwares, Revit, with the parameter and schedule features, managed to optimize this process to some extent, but still a lot of manual work was required. For example, most of the numbering, most often the numbering goal for doors, for example, is to associate the door number with a particular room number. So, for example, changing the numbering system on your rooms will require from you also to change the numbering on your doors, and for that matter, even on the windows. So there are already 2-3 places where you will need to make these changes accordingly. Or even if the numbering is phase-based in Revit, and you only want to configure the numbering for doors within a certain phase, that also provides additional complications that you need to keep track of all the phases of your doors and windows. Or even, as I mentioned, changing the location of the door, just flipping it, will result in the change of the scope on the numbering. Because right now, for example, the door will belong to the living room, not to the single bedroom, which again requires from you to change the numbering system on that specific door. So again, a lot of things to be taken into consideration, and you need to be quite focused on a frequent basis, do these revisions and checkups of your data on your doors and windows. So yeah, quite a big chunk of work that someone needs to be responsible for. This brings us to the main event of today, and that's talking about the Naviate features that are optimizing this process of door and window management much further than Revit is doing. So in Naviate Architecture, so this is now the main part that you all want to see, and that's the Naviate features. So in Naviate Architecture, we have 2 sets of tools that are providing you with optimized workflows. One set of tools is for the door data, and the other set of tools is for windows. Each of these sets of tools has the same features, but one is working with doors and the other one is working with windows. So if I would give you a brief description of each of these tools, let me do it like this. So before that, I can just briefly mention the new look and feel. I'm not going to show you the old version of the door window drawings, but it wasn't looking like this. Previously, we only had one button in the ribbon, and all of these tools were in a drop-down. So, and a lot of the data, a lot of these tools for swing and count and door UIDs were quite dependent of each other, and you needed to do a lot of configurations in order to get the right output. So now what we did with this setup that you see here is we divided each specific set of data into their own feature, into their own tool. Like, for example, swing and count. This is a feature, this is a tool that works with configuring and updating the swing direction and the count of the doors and windows. Then we have 2 tools that are working with the unique identifiers. So you are able to configure and manage your unique identifiers. Our terminology here is UIDs, unique identifiers. And then we also have a feature that will help you reorder the doors within a specific scope. And then finally, after we have done all of the data configuration and defining, you will be able to create the door and window drawings. We also provide two sets of features here. I will briefly talk about this at the end of my presentation. But yes, what did I say? So we have separated ribbon buttons for each specific set of data that a door or window needs to have defined and updated correctly. This gives a much better overview to the user and keeps them focused on the specific task. And when you're working in a team, that can also be helpful because one team member can be responsible for updating swing and count, and the other one for working with the unique identifiers. And with this, making these tools independent from each other, that is possible to do in a quite user-friendly manner. So that was kind of the idea behind that, to provide a more straightforward, user-friendly, and focused workflow when updating and configuring the door and window data. So if I dive now into each specific feature, I will start with swing and count. So if I run this feature, you will get a dialog like this. A brief UI onboarding. So starting from the left, on the left side, you will be able to see a preview of each of your door family. So by selecting on any of these doors, you will be able to see the preview. Down here, you are able to define the swing codes that are going to be used for the actual swing direction of the doors. So whatever country standard you're using, you can define the codes within these input boxes. I'm going to use these ones as they are, and you will see where this data is shown. Moving on to the right side, this is the grid view, the configuration for the original swing direction. So we are actually working with two different swing directions when it comes to doors. We are working, as I mentioned, with the actual swing direction of each of the doors, of each instance, and you are also able to define the original swing direction of the doors. I can explain that after I do the UI onboarding. So we have a number of options that you can select here. I'll talk about them just in a second, but moving on to the right side, you are also able to configure if you wanna count, if you wanna update the type count, the total number of doors of a certain door type, and write that to a parameter. You can also summarize the number of the swing counts. So we will be able to summarize the number of left doors and the number of right doors and write that to a parameter. And this part here is all about the phasing settings. I briefly mentioned that phasing can be a complicated process, and we are providing features to do that in a more optimized way. But I'll be back on to that. So let me go back again. So we have defined the swing codes, the ones that we wanted, and let's focus on this setting here right now. This is a family level setting. So these are all the families that we have in the project. This is not a type level setting. So whatever you define here will be applied on all the door types of this family type. So let's say that we only have left and right doors. We don't have not applicable doors. Not applicable basically means that you are not either sure what swing direction the door is, or if it's a swing door, where basically the door goes in both directions, you can use not applicable and use a specific code for that. So yeah, it can support a number of use cases. Flip state, I'll mention that later on, and varies, let's talk about that a little bit later on. And let's keep all of the other things as they are. So only left and right doors. when I click update right now, I will get a report. This report will tell me how many door instances have been updated, and it will also tell me that the update was successful. Okay, good, close. And what happened right now? Couple of things happened. So if I open up a schedule, I will just move this out. We are going to work only with doors today. So swing direction and count. So I have a schedule here that includes all the parameters that this feature has created and updated. So let me just move this out somehow. Yeah, like this, good. So what happened here? So we have all the doors or the door types in our projects, and these are the parameters that we have created and updated. So we have swing direction, CQ swing direction, CQ swing count, NV original swing direction, and type count. So these are the 4 parameters that we are creating and updating. So I mentioned in the beginning that we have actual swing direction and original swing direction. What does that mean? So I'm just going to do a brief explanation about that. And let's say we have a door, and I'm going to place this door here. If I run swing and count right now, so this is a new type, a new family. No, it was already configured before. So let me just do one quick thing. If I go to edit and just duplicate, I would like to have a new type. So yeah, let's call it like that. Does not matter. Okay, so yes, that's my new type. And if I run swing and count right now, yeah, I think it will use the previous one because I have duplicated. But anyways, initially, when you add a new door type or door family, this is what you will get. The door will be highlighted as not configured. But if I would do that right now, and I would say left, and I click update, that's the original swing direction that we are documenting. And if I check right now the door, and in the instance parameters, you will be able to see the swing direction parameter. This is left because that was the initial direction when we placed the door. And if I go to edit type, I want to show you the NV original swing direction parameter. That parameter is saved here. This is a legacy parameter. I haven't removed it from the project, so ignore this one. But as you see, this is the setting that we have defined for this family. So it's going to be left. And now just to give you a comparison between the actual and original swing direction, it's this. So let's say that this type has a number of instances in the project, and I use a different direction. So if I would run the swing direction right now, it's still going to say left because that's the original direction that we have defined. And now what it's still going to say on the original swing direction that this instance is left, but in the swing direction, it will figure out that, okay, the original swing direction was this, so any other door that was flipped will use the opposite direction in this case. So it's going to be right. So that's the actual and original swing direction. So we are keeping track of both of them and updating both parameters accordingly. If I go back to this dialog here and talk briefly about these options here. So type count and swing count. If you take a look on this schedule here, this is what we achieved by updating these type parameters. So the swing count for each type within the family, we have calculated that, for example, this type has 2 right doors, 1 left door, and that the type count is 3. 2 plus 1 is 3. So we are calculating both of those parameters and keeping track of them. if I would change any of these doors, door directions, and run the update again, this data will be updated accordingly. So yeah, that was about all the parameters and data that we provide in the swing and count feature. I would like to touch one, okay, this is Windows, sorry. I would like to touch one part on this. So we are also providing you with the ability to update only doors from a certain phase. So right now, all the phases in the project are selected, and we will update all the doors based on this selection here. What's important for you to know that, or maybe that's something a little bit more detailed, but yeah, what I wanted to say is that for the swing direction, we are updating always all the doors from all phases. But when it comes to type parameters, this setting is basically related to the type count and swing count. So maybe you only want to update the type and swing count for existing doors. For doors from existing phase, you can do that with these options. And then we have a feature here that helps you also include or exclude temporary doors. What we mean by temporary doors is doors that have been created in one phase and have been demolished in any other phase in the project. So that's what we regard as temporary doors. And yes, that was kind of the overview of the swing direction and count functionality. I will talk later on a little bit more about some other features around this, and for that matter, all the other features that we have here, but I will come to that. So that was all about swing and count. Let me move on to the unique identifier data. So I mentioned that we have two features to do that, and let's run the first one, door UIDs. But before that, let me just turn off this and delete these doors and to fit. Let's run it again. Door UIs. Yes. Again, a brief UI onboarding. So it's divided into three sections. The first section is parameter selection. Here you can select any number of door and room parameters to use as your unique identifiers. The second section is the preview of your unique identifier. And the third section here is settings. You can here define the style of your sequential numbering, define the phasing, which doors you want to update from which phases. And yeah, that's kind of basically it. And there is also one other option. I will mention that one, the to room and from room. But yes, that's kind of the UI. I think is quite straightforward. But anyways, what you can do here, you can input any number of basic parameters. These are the most common used parameters. In my case, I'm going to use the room number and the sequential number to create my unique identifiers. As I said, you have all the available door parameters, both instance and type parameters that you can use for defining the unique identifier, and also the room parameters. But yeah, that's my preview. I'm happy with this. I can continue figuring out how I want to have my sequential numbering. And that works only if you have this parameter inside. And that's a basic parameter. So you can find it on the top here. So you can define if I want to have my sequentialing 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 0, 2, or ABC. So whichever one suits your standards in your company, you can use that. And when it comes to the phases, I'm not going to go too much into detail about that one. I already mentioned that on swing and count, the same principle behind this. You only want to update doors from a certain phase, you can do that with this setting. And okay, let me click update. I already did the update before, but yeah, I will get the same numbers right now, but that's not important. It's important that yeah, we get the output, the desired one. I'm just going to skip this dialog for a second, and I'm just going to click OK. I'm not going to talk about that. And yes, now we got a report. This report will be a little bit more detailed, as you will see, but it provided us with the information that the update was successful. So I can click close, and all of my unique identifiers have been updated right now. If you want to change that, if something has changed during the process and you maybe want to use ABC and maybe even add one more parameter, which I'm not going to do, you can do that and just click update, and all the unique identifiers will be updated. So as we will see right now, all the doors will be replaced with the ABC sequential style. And again, as I mentioned, if you want to add additional parameters to the unique identifier, you can do that quite simply. So yes, that's the numbering part. You have done that and you're happy. But there are things that are not within the scope of this rule that you have defined here. So not all the rooms, not all the doors should have this numbering system as we have defined here. They maybe should have different parameters to be used, or even a custom numbering. Like for example, I'm going to take a use case of security doors. So let's say in this apartment, in this level, I have these doors. And I want to renumber them differently. I want to say that they are security and exit doors and give them a certain sequential. I can do that manually just by going one by one and changing the mark value. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to show you another. I'm going to take this chance and show you another feature that we have in Accelerate. So anyone who gets architecture will get Accelerate. For example, renumbering. So you can also use that one to renumber certain doors. So in this case, I'm just going to be quick. I'm going to select element types. Okay, the parameter is mark, and I want to use unearthed as my first number, and I'm going to use this as my prefix, security and exit. And I'm just going to go into the floor plan and start clicking each of the doors, and it will renumber them. So that's good. I'm going to click close, and I have renumbered my security doors as I wanted. So yeah, I'm not able to close it for some reason. Okay, now I give me 1 second. Something happened. Okay, here it is. Yeah. So yeah, again, I'm happy. I changed the numbering on my security doors, but that's not all. Because if you want to keep using the door UIDs, you need to take care of that. Because if I run the update again, so let's say you have added more doors and you want to use this numbering and not affect these doors at all, that's where this manage UID dialog comes in. And here I will be able to see all my door instances with some general data and also the unique identifier data. So I currently don't see anything. Oh, I see something. There it is. But I can use the sorting functionality in this. It's a little bit hidden, but yeah, the status bar is found here. So you can use that one to show on top all the doors that have some issues. And as you can see, these are the doors that we have modified. So SE 101 to 104, these doors have some issues. And the reason behind that is because they are not within the defined rules of the unique identifier. And that's what we saw in the configuration. So if you hover over the status bar, you will see that update will undo manual edits. So that's quite important. So anything that we have changed here will be undone. But it's scary because you maybe have done 100 doors, change this. The reason behind that is because we are still following the rules that we have defined in the Door UID tool. But we are providing you with a number of features to resolve that, and those features are found in Manage UIDs. You have two options. You can lock these UIDs, and the values that you have used will be locked and protected, and they will not be updated to the values defined in the configuration. Or you can exclude them. I will talk about excluding, but let's say we have locked them. And I'm going to click OK. And it's going to now tell me that the update was successful. We had 5 doors that had been locked and some doors that needed to be reset to previous values. I'm going to click cancel, and there it is. My doors are locked. And as you can see, the color changed, and the reason for that is because I use color elements, another feature that helps you visualize some data, and I use one parameter that we are creating. It's called NV locked UID, and that kind of gives me a visual confirmation which doors have been locked and which not. So that can be also quite useful workflow. And yes, now we have protected some of our doors to be updated, but I'm just gonna select this door, and I'm gonna show you the parameters that this feature creates. I previously showed you what swing direction is doing. It's creating the CQ swing direction, actual parameter, and the original parameter, and also the type count and swing count parameters. But with the door UIDs, we're creating another set of parameters. We are creating CQ, reverse room association. I'll talk about this a little bit later, but these are the important ones that you should know about the workflow that I just explained. NV locked UID and NV exclude from update. These are the parameters that we are creating. So NV locked UID, this is the parameter that defines if this door was locked or not. You cannot control it through this instance property. The only way where you can control it is through the UI. And that was a decision made together with the product specialist. The reason behind that is to give the control to the user only in one place, not as it was before on the instance parameter and also in the UI. When it comes to excluding, you are able to exclude them both in the UI and on the instance parameter. That are some details about the workflow, but yeah, you need to know what we are creating and how you can use those parameters. So if I go to the unique identifier schedule, I can also show you some more things. So yeah, okay, so I showed you the locking part. So we have locked these doors. And what if I run the update again? What's going to happen? I'm just going to run the update. Even if I didn't make any changes, click OK on this. Click close, everything seems to be fine. So you see, they are protected. We are not going to touch them anytime, never. So basically what the locking is doing. So that's important for you to understand, because I'm going to compare that with excluding. So when it comes to locking, what we are doing, we are locking the unique identifier, the parameter that's used for the unique identifier, and we will never allow that parameter to be changed. For example, let's say that someone else within the team has made some manual changes for whatever reason, or even if you have decided to change the way how you number these security doors. Let's say I want to do something like this, have the number first, then SE. I can do that on the instance property, and it's going to change. But if I run door UIDs right now, click update, again, this manage UID dialog will pop up. And if I click this button here, it will give me some more warnings. And it's going to tell me the same thing as before, not allowed to edit locked UID. And now I'm going to briefly talk about this part here. So you are able to see the current unique identifier. That's the value that's on the parameter. So as you can see, this is the changed value. But you are also able to see the locked unique identifier. And that was the value that we locked before. And also, you will be able to see the previous value that was on the last update. But what I can do here right now, I can change this value manually. So that's kind of one way of doing it, and that's what I wanted to show you. So you can either use the instance properties and then act on that in this dialog. In this case, it kind of doesn't make sense that you change this manually to SE. It makes sense, of course, you can do it. As you can see, the warning has removed. has been removed. But the other thing that you can do, if you have this value, you can exclude it. And in that case, this value will never be touched by the updater. I'll come back to this one. I'm going to keep it as locked. And so yeah, I should just run it one more time. Okay, yes. So the thing that I wanted to show you is that we will revert back the changes that have been made manually. So if I click OK right now, it will tell me again that one instance has been reset to previous value. And if I click close, it will bring back the old locked value that we used. So as you can see, we are protecting this unique identifier from manual changes or even from the updater itself and the update of the tool. And then when I compare it to the exclude option, so with this exclude option, so let's say I pre-select these doors here. Let's pre-select these doors. And you can go to architecture, manage UIDs. Did I select them? Yes, I did. Okay. That was Windows, sorry. This is, yes. So you can also pre-select a number of doors, and the manage UID tool will only show them. So that's also one feature that can be quite useful. And what I can do here, I can exclude these values. Also, what does that mean? That means that, but I want to remove the lock. This basically means that these doors, these unique identifiers will never be touched by the updater. So that means that you can do with them whatever you want at any point of time. So any manual change, we will not consider it, will not include these 4 doors at all in the update. So you can do with them whatever you want. Compared to locking, locking will protect it from being updated manually or from being updated by the tool itself. So that's kind of the idea behind the manage UIDs part. And one last thing that I can show you in the manage UIDs part is this. You have also the ability to filter out. So if you have locked doors, you can use this filter and it will only show you locked doors. If you have excluded doors, you can only see excluded doors. And then we have these 2 options. And I think this is important for you to know, not assigned and duplicated values. When it comes to not assigned values, we don't have any of them. So the concept behind not assigned values is this. For example, let's say we have this door that was locked, its unique identifier was locked, but for some reason we had to delete it. But still this value is somewhere externally or internally, this unique identifier is used. If I delete this door and go back to the manage UIDs and click on not assigned filtering, it's going to tell me that. It's going to remember that a door that had this unique identifier was deleted and is not present in the project anymore. But we are going to remember that that unique identifier was used, and we are going to lock it. And you're going to get the status. This status tells you that for not assigned values, if you want to remove them from the project and put them into use again, you can just unlock it and it will delete that value. And the other way that you can add some protected unique identifiers that are not connected to a door, you can use add locked UID. It will add a number of locked unique identifiers and you can select them. You can define them here. So let's say A101, I don't want ever to be used by a door, or basically like that. So they will be always remembered and saved within the project, and we will never use these values that you set here. So that's quite nice to have as a feature, I believe. And the last part is duplicated. So this is the part where we help you not to make mistakes. And we basically don't allow you to make mistakes. That's kind of the goal with that feature. So let's say, for example, here, if I have these 3 doors within a scope, and what if something like this happens? I change this one to B. Naviate, of course, will give me a warning that it is a duplicated value, but for that matter, we will also do the same. So if I go to manage UIDs, and again use the status sorting, it will tell me that these 2 doors are duplicated, have duplicated unique identifiers. And with that, you will get a warning that we are not able to lock these values because they are duplicated and they are not unique. I can exclude them and keep them as they are, but I will never be able to lock them because, again, they are not unique. So yeah, the thing that I wanted to mention with this is that we are also keeping track of mistakes made in the numbering system. And we are providing features that will highlight those mistakes and give you information on what to do next. So yeah, that's kind of it when it comes to manage UIDs. I will be brief with the next feature, and that's reorder doors. I showed you previously renumbering. Renumbering does something else, and thus the name, there comes the name renumber and reorder. There is the difference in those two. This one basically changes the numbering however you want it, on whatever parameter you want, but the reorder doors does something a little bit different. I'm gonna cancel this. That's something different. So if I run reorder, the thing that I can do, I can reorder. So it is not numbering, it's reordering the doors within a certain scope. What I mean by that within a certain scope is this. So because in the configuration we have defined, what did we define? Room number and sequential number. Yes. So the scope of the doors is to which room they are belonging. So in this case, these 3 doors belong to the same scope, and that's master bedroom 169. And with this feature, we are reading the configuration and allowing you to reorder doors within that scope. So for example, if I want to have this one as A, this one as B, this one as C, I can do that. And immediately the tool will so yeah, as you can see right now, due to those complications with duplicate values, it used 2 values. But if I would change this just quickly to A and run the feature again, I can just click out the doors A, B, and C. And as soon as I click all the doors within the scope, within the room, the tool will close itself and it will give you the updated version of them. And this is important to know, this part is important to know that if you run the update again, you will not modify these. We'll remember that you have reordered them and we'll keep this order as it is. So that's about that feature. And one quite important part that I want to mention is this. I think I don't need a schedule, or maybe I didn't even need it at all, but this last part, it's going to be an overview of all of these features that I just showed you, and it is a big part of this workflow. It is not within the door tools. It's not directly connected in any way with Naviate Architecture or the door tools. It is found in Accelerate. So as you have seen, a lot of workflows have been optimized with these features, but we have provided some more features that will automate this process much more. So that is this feature that I'm talking about. It is Update Project. In Update Project, you can go to Manage. And in this dialog, we have a lot of things that you can see. But let's say Architecture. We are listing all the tools that are updating some sort of data, like door UIDs, swing and count, yeah, those two. And you can see them here. So you have door swing and count, you have door unique identifier, you have window swing and count, and window unique identifier. what you can do here, you can define a number of things. You can define when you want to update this data. You can define if you want to update the data before saving the project. You can check this. You can configure if you want to update this data before you print your sheets, or before you export, or before you sync, or manually. You can use the dialog to go to each of these tools and configure something before running the update, and you can also run the update from here. So yeah, straightforward from that perspective. But what I'm trying to say, the value that I'm trying to emphasize here is this, that you can define all the things for your windows and for your doors to be updated manually. For example, this. And you can basically, all this process that I just showed you, you can make it a one-click workflow. And when you have defined this in the manage dialog, you can just run update, and it will do all the updates that you have defined within the scope and give you back the information around that in a report structure. So yeah, that's quite nice. Okay, then we have some problems, something that some complicated values happened, but anyways, that's something to be resolved in some other webinar. The last part, and I think I overused my time, sorry for that, but the last part that is also important for you to know is one customization feature that we have for door window drawings. So as you have seen, we are creating a number of parameters for the swing and count, for the door UIDs. You can configure that on your own also. You can configure which parameters you want to use for this updating, for the data update. And that you can do if you go to Project, Manage, again, Accelerate. So now I'm showing you a combination of different tools. In Accelerate, you can go to Parameter Configuration. So yeah, please write these workflows down and where you can find these tools. But yeah, what did I get? Let me just maximize this. Yes, again, a big review with a lot of things, but still a similar and streamlined UI as the one in Update project. And here you can also see similar setup. So you can see all the features that we have. So for example, for door, swing, and count, we are creating 4 parameters. These are the parameters. These are the parameters that we are using. And you can create your own parameters and select them here, and we will use those parameters when updating these swing direction parameters. The same goes for door UIDs and a number of other options that you can use here, but that's something for you to find out when you try out this feature. But just so you know, you are able also to do that, to customize the parameters used for updating the data. And I'm just going to finish up with one more sentence, and that's after you have done all your data update and configuration, you will be able to create your drawings. We are providing 2 tools. One tool to create door and window drawings by legend using legend components, or creating the door drawings by using actual views, which provides much more functionalities and possibilities. But this is going to be a topic for one of our next webinars. So stay up to date, follow us, and I believe you will be quite interested in the door drawings annex, or the new version that we are updating right now. So yes, the scope of this webinar was not to show these features, but as I told you, be patient, and on our next webinar, we will show you quite nice features around the door and window drawings. So yes, that was all from my side. Yeah, Ture, very much for taking more time than we planned for, but I think these were the things that were important to be shown. But anyways, yes.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's complicated, and you for sure need to have control of the doors and also the windows. Same workflows goes for the windows as you showed for doors. So I'm okay with that. So let's start wrapping things up. You see. And yes. Yeah, as you saw, detailed walkthrough on the tools. It's always like that we are working by wishes and ideas from customers. So we have created an ideation portal where you, as a user, can amend your ideas or wishes for improvements on new feature. Is this link? It's available on naviate.com, and by going into this page, you can create an idea quickly, align it to the product like Naviate Architecture here, and you will see if you put it as an improvement or a new feature. And those ideas are maintained and overviewed and reviewed by the team every week, and we are considering these when we are going into the next development period. It's important for us to capture all the ideas out there and make sure that we are developing Naviate in the right direction according to your wishes, more or less. So it's available. The link is down here, and it's also available through resources and ideation portal on naviate.com. I can't see that we have any questions, so it could be meaning two things. Either it was crystal clear, or people are too shy to ask questions. But feel free to contact us after this webinar, either myself or Mehmed, and even respond on an email. So with your questions, so we can answer them out. If not, I think we're good for now. So moving on, Naviate Satellite Landscaping is the next presentation or webinar up for the first Thursday in March, the 3rd. And then we take more or less product for product. We have some interesting solutions around Naviate MEP in April, and we're going to show a brand new version of Naviate Accelerate in May. All those are available to register on the naviate.com page. You choose Insights and Webinars, and you have had the possibility to click registration on the links there. Naviate is not only features and functions, it's a whole community. So we have the web page, we have bi-weekly and weekly blogs. We have an extensive help desk area where you can find almost everything related to challenges or installation documentation, getting started documentation, etc. As mentioned, the ideation portal, a community where you can ask questions and discuss. It comes with e-learning, so you have videos, workflows, learning paths, documentation around Naviate as well. And of course, as Mehmed said in the beginning, if you would like to follow us and be updated on what's happening with Naviate and Naviate Architecture, sign up for the newsletter, and we make sure to inform you going forward. This is the link to the newsletter. So, I think you almost used 1 hour, Mehmed.
Yes.
These are the email addresses to both myself and Mehmed. So reach out if you have any concerns or questions after this presentation. Just gonna see. Yeah, question about the door drawing webinar. We haven't set a date yet. It could be that we'll do something in between those I just mentioned, depending on when we are able to show the latest improvements. So I will make sure for us to engage with you that attended today and inform you when we have that door drawing webinar. So you'll be contacted then. Okay. Thank you very much, Mehmed, for walking us through door tools today.
You're welcome.
And to all of you that used almost 1 hour of the time today, thank you for attending. Hope to see you next time, and we will make sure to inform you when we have the door drawing webinar up and running. So thank you for today, and see you the next Thursday in March. Thank you. Have a nice afternoon.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.